Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar being given by Fundamental Knowledge, LLC. My name is Leila Zubi, and I am one of the founders of Fundamental Knowledge, and I'm here with my co-founder, Heather Butts, and we will be introducing our services to you. Before we get started on our services, what I'd like to do is give you just a bit of background on who we are and what we do, and what our primary goals are at Fundamental Knowledge. So Fundamental Knowledge is an academic, educational, and legal counseling service company, and we provide the most comprehensive services to foreign students who are interested in studying in the United States. And our primary goal is to ensure that our students reach their highest level of academic achievement, have a safe and enjoyable experience living as students in the United States, and that they ultimately, after graduation, become successful working professionals, whether they go back to their home countries or they decide to stay in the United States. And our services are so complete and seamless enough that we want to make students feel successful and motivated at each step. And one of the things, or just to start listing some of the things that we do, we work closely with our students to ensure that they get accepted at the best possible colleges and universities in the United States. And our academic counselors have experience and expertise in a broad range of disciplines, including social services, medicine, law, engineering, computer sciences, arts, agriculture, and business, among other areas. And we work personally with students on a one-to-one basis, and we customize the instruction so that students learn the elements of a successful school application and personal essay, while also developing a sophisticated understanding of the admissions process so that each student has a competitive advantage in the admissions to their desired schools. And further, we make our students feel college ready by providing services directly to the students at all academic levels. So we start with students even when they start high school, and throughout high school, and those students in college who would like to come to the United States to study on a graduate level. But our goal is to build personal and academic tools so that students feel comfortable with the entrance examinations, school applications, academic programs, internship and externship opportunities at schools, and even professional networking. So these are just a bit, this is just a bit of a background on what we do. And so what we can do now is get started on each of the individual areas of our services. So let me begin by talking a bit about organization of college fairs in the United States and or abroad. And this is Module 1 of our services. So what we like to do is really have a comprehensive opportunity for students to get information on a broad range of topics before they start thinking about studying in the United States. And we'd like to give them this base of information so that they're well informed. And what we do with our college fairs is we bring representatives and academicians from colleges and universities from across the United States so that they can meet the students on a one-to-one basis and provide an introduction to the American educational system. They could also advise students on a one-to-one basis, and the representatives from colleges and universities would talk about their academic programs and campus student life, and of course provide students with brochures and application materials. Then, in addition to providing access to these colleges and universities in the United States, we'd like to also offer our students workshops and panel discussions with question and answer sessions at the end. And so we would organize panels with different academic educators and academicians in various fields of study, medicine, law, engineering, business, and this will help students understand the curriculum and what it's like to study in these areas. And of course, afterwards, we would have several opportunities for students to interface with schools directly in a more informal setting by attending receptions and, of course, talking with representatives after these panel discussions. So this is our college fairs in the United States and or abroad. And one thing I would like to also mention is that we work with a number of clients. And our clients range from individual students who want to come and study in the United States to families of students, and actually four. The third would be foreign governments who sponsor their students to study in the United States, and four is corporations abroad who also sponsor their students to study, or their employees to study in the United States. So we have four different clients we work with, and we tailor, of course, all of our services to the needs of those clients, and always with the students' needs in mind, of course. So let's now move on to Module 2. And Module 2 is organization of 3 workshops in the United States and or abroad. And again, depending on who our client is, so for example, if a foreign government is our client and that the foreign government would like us to prepare these workshops and college fairs in their home country, then we would be happy to do so. Otherwise, what we also offer is the opportunity for students to access these kinds of workshops that we would either provide online or in the United States. But ultimately, we will provide access to the students in the most, efficient way possible. So let's move on then to the organization of these workshops and what they're all about. So our workshops are now more specific about different areas. So our first workshop would be on the various standardized entrance examinations that foreign students might want to take depending on their area of study. So in our workshop, we would discuss the TOEFL exam, GRE, MCAT, LSAT, SAT, GMATs, LSAT, everything that a student would be interested or would need to know, and what these tests are about, the sections of each test, and really how to get a mastery of these tests. Our second workshop would then focus on the elements of a successful college or graduate school application. And we would talk about how students can complete a college or a school application and write a personal essay. And we would go through outlining and the preliminary writing of a short and long essay in an application. And third, and this is a combination of 2 different things, what we feel is important to a student's success in the United States, studying in the United States, is really to understand American culture and what students' campus life in the United States could be like. And one of the, an important area that ties into that is the U.S. legal system. And both Heather and I are attorneys, and so we think it's important that students really understand and have knowledge, basic information of what they would need to know about the American legal system as students studying in the United States. So we would go through the legal do's and don'ts, and those would include areas such as immigration, commercial law matters, criminal matters, what to do if you're stopped by a law enforcement official in the United States, some, areas of law that may apply to family and home, the use of drugs and alcohol on campus, and violence, criminal behavior, driving, and so on. So these will help to, this information through our workshops will help to empower students with information so that they have, when they come and live in the United States, they understand how the system functions. So let's move on then to Module 3, which is Academic Placement and Counseling, and I will now turn it over to my very esteemed co-founder, Heather Butts.
Thank you so much, Leila Zubi. So I'm Heather Butts, and as was mentioned earlier, co-founder of fundamental knowledge, and very pleased to be here along with my esteemed colleague, Little Zuby here. And so I'm going to talk about Module 3, which is Academic Placement and Counseling. And this is really crucial to the process. One thing that makes us unique from other companies is that we really span the entirety from the pre-college process all the way up through college graduation. And we find a lot of times that organizations, they work with students up to a certain point, or they work with students through getting into college, but then there's really no safety net for the students when they actually get into college. And what we do is we actually work with students while they're on the college campus. So while they're in college, while they're attending college, we work with them, and if they have difficulties or issues, and much as what Layla was talking about with Module 2, with, cultural assimilation, that doesn't stop once you enter college. We work with students while they're in college. And so the Academic Placement and Counseling Module 3 is one that starts before college, but it goes all the way up through college graduation. And this is broken down into several sectors. So first we have academic placement. This involves primarily collecting student academic and personal information, and this is critical for us to do the work that we need to do with students. So we collect from sponsoring governments and students if that is appropriate and warranted, and we maintain privacy waivers from students in compliance with United States laws, which allows us to collect information from schools. We collect the following information. So, of course, we get students' contact information, their diplomas, their transcripts, standardized test scores, areas of study, a list of extracurriculars, which is extremely important in this process. We'll look at sports, other in-school activities, music, and so forth. And we want to make sure that each of these applicants, their applications are very competitive. So all materials should be provided to us in their original language and English translation. We can help students with that if necessary. And we need a required translation certification. And then we collect from the sponsoring government and or student, evaluating a student's personal essays in English regarding students' past accomplishments, aspirations, desired American schools, and future professional goals in order to better place students in their desired schools. And remember, for a lot of students, and we'll get into this later, they'll be looking towards a common application, of which there's actually a supplemental part for international students. That's very, very important for international students to understand. So as we're going through this process, we'll be working with the students on their personal essays. We'll also be working with them on supplemental materials that they'll need as international students. Next up, student evaluation. So we will do a student evaluation where we review each student's full academic background, their chosen field of study, their accomplishments, their academic goals, and we really want to get a true picture of the student, who they are, what they're about, and make sure that their college experience is the best that it can be. Based on the student evaluations, we will advise the students or whatever organization that's working with the students on the students' eligibility, language requirements, and placement potential. So we want to get a sense of where the students will be placed once they get to the United States and start school, and if they need any additional help, if that is provided. And identifying 4 to 6 appropriate schools per student, making recommendations, suggestions as necessary. And this may change with different students. So some students, there might be more schools that we recommend, but a range of 4 to 6 is going to be appropriate for most of the young people that we work with. Identifying and recommending next steps, including English language instruction if necessary, and academic tutoring if warranted. The students with low grades and test scores who have limited placement options in United States schools. So some students may come to us and their options are somewhat limited. So we may have to look at other options for them, including community colleges or other possibilities so that they can get into the U.S. school system, and then we can work with them from there. And then providing all student evaluation results in a written report to the sponsoring government and or the students and or their family so that they can have written information regarding what they need to do going forward. Application and enrollment, providing application materials to each student for each school to which the student will apply. This is critical, and right now is around the time the common application for the United States schools About 500 of those schools is already available, and students will want to get an early start on this process. They want to get to look at those applications and especially look at any essays or supplemental materials they'll need, especially being international students. Working individually with each student to edit and develop applications and essays as needed. So we'll work one-on-one with students on the application as a whole, but also the application essays and any supplemental materials. We'll also monitor applications through the admissions process of each school to ensure that applications are received and processed on a timely basis. This is critical because obviously in this electronic age, things can fall through the cracks. So we will be there to support the student to make sure that that does not happen. We will advise each student additional information requested by schools to bolster applications. So sometimes students are required to submit additional application. We will work with the student to make sure that they do that and they do it in a timely fashion. We'll serve as liaison among schools and sponsor government and the students, so it'll be a triad between us and the schools and the students/government to make sure that the process goes seamlessly. And we'll provide written reports on school decisions promptly to the students or the sponsoring organization or government and forward admission materials to each student. For multiple academic admissions, we'll advise the sponsoring student or government on the order of preference based on the student's goals, the program's academic excellence, and the school's reputation. So we will work on all this and do our due diligence to make sure that the students' needs and goals are being met for the school that they are interested in and that works best for them. Pre-departure services will provide an online seminar for students and their families before the student's departure from their home countries. So the online program will look very much like what you're seeing here today. It'll be an online tutorial where the student will have detailed instructions in terms of pre-departure services and other services that we provide before they even come to the United States. It can be a very anxiety-provoking process for students to leave their home country, leave their families, and come to a completely different country, especially if they've never been to the United States before. So we will work with the students and the families on that to make sure the transition is as pain-free and seamless as possible. Administration and supervision of academic programs, which includes academic and personal counseling. So monitoring each student's academic and personal progress during the course of his or her academic program with monthly telephone calls and emails. And again, for some students, this may require more intervention. So some students, monthly calls may be sufficient. Other students, we may need to have more intervention, and we will determine that as the process goes on. We will maintain regular reports of student status, including performance in school, exam schedules, attendance, exam scores, contents of monthly telephone calls, and additional notes. Again, for some students, this might not be as intensive. For other students, it might be extremely intensive, depending on difficulties they're having and issues in terms of cultural acclimation. Maintain a central database for all students' information and provide the sponsoring government representatives with password-protected access to the database at all times. This will also be provided to their guardians and families, and we will have the ability for them to have access to the information. The students will have a complete understanding, of who will be gaining access. They will not. No one will be able to have access unless they have the right to have that access, but students will be able to understand that there will be oversight over how they're doing. Maintaining that central database, as well as providing reports to sponsoring governments upon written requests. So if the governments require and request reports on the progress of the students, we can provide those. Providing each student with a toll-free telephone number so that students can contact us free of charge at any time for any reason, including emergencies. So in addition to us assisting the students on monthly or more regular bases, students will also have access to us, in which if they find themselves in some sort of difficulty, they can contact us free of charge and let us know what's going on. And locate resource as needed tutoring, mentoring, housing, and health care. So if students run into any difficulty, as Leila Zubi mentioned earlier, if students are having substance abuse problems or mental health problems or mental health issues, we will be on the ground to help them with that, and they can call our toll-free number to get access to us immediately if this is an emergency situation. A liaison with school officials. We will act as a liaison among sponsoring governments, the students, and international academic student advisors at the respective schools, and communicate to all sponsoring governments directly with regard to school officials and students as necessary. Collection of transcripts and course registration materials. This is critical as students first arrive in the United States and they need to deal with course registration and other materials. So we will collect each student's course registration information each term and copies of transcripts and or grade reports upon completion of the term. This is especially crucial for students who are pre-med, pre-dental, pre-nursing. We want to make sure that they stay on track and they're on track, and so to the extent that we will go over courses that they're registered for and their transcripts, we will do that. Records will be directly forwarded to sponsoring governments and students upon written request. And updates and maintenance of the database of files will be done on each student, including program records and reports, correspondence with each student to his or her advisors, university personnel, and sponsoring governments. And of course, all this will be done in a manner that's in full compliance with all college laws and regulations regarding student privacy. We will maintain and update contact information for all students and provide access to resources. So we'll maintain all family information, including spouses and children, and provide information regarding access to all necessary resources, and maintain contact information for extended family and home country in the United States, if any, in case of emergency. So for those young people who actually do have family here in the United States, we'll make sure that we have that contact information, and in case of emergency, make sure that we have the appropriate approvals in place to contact those individuals in case of emergency. Student transfers, forward transfer requests from students to the sponsoring government for approval. So there will be times when students want to transfer either because they're at a community college and they wish to transfer to a four-year college, or they're at a four-year college and they wish to transfer to another school. Upon receipt of the sponsoring government's response to student transfer request, forward our recommendation to possible transfer schools for the sponsoring government's evaluation. So we will work closely with the student and the sponsoring government to ensure that any transfer requests are dealt with efficiently and in an appropriate manner, and that it's appropriate for what the student actually wants and they need for their further study. Upon the sponsoring government's approval of transfer requests, we will work with the student to implement the transfer. Notification of new policies and procedures. We will communicate with students' directives and policies from the sponsoring government to the students via email. So if there's information that students need to know from their sponsoring government, we will make sure that they are well informed. And we will work on reporting, including replacement and admission reports to the sponsoring government and each student, and academic progress reports to the sponsoring government, as well as notification of student problems and or emergencies. And obviously, in the event that a student becomes ill, they have some sort of a mental health crisis or legal crisis or some sort of academic problem, we will maintain privately held documentation about this. So this documentation will obviously be kept under the strictest of confidence, and we will work with the sponsoring government to deal with these issues in an efficient manner and in as expedient a manner as possible. And then graduation notification and evaluation. So we provide written reports to the sponsoring government 2 months prior to the student's completion or anticipated completion of their academic program, so the sponsoring government can make arrangements for their students' return to the home country, and they collect written evaluations from graduating students on their respective schools, including academic programs, facility services, housing, and student life. These will be incorporated in what we call student surveys. Those student surveys will be provided to the sponsoring government to evaluate the success of each school's programs and services. So obviously we want to know not only how well individual students did in school, but how an overall school is doing. Is it working well with our international students? Are students getting the services they need? So it'll be an overall survey of the schools as well. And then advise the sponsoring government of positive and negative school surveys. So we'll work with the government so that they can understand what schools worked well, what schools didn't, what changes we might suggest, and ways for implementing those. And now I'm going to turn it back over to L.E.A.R.N to do module number 4.
Thank you, Heather. One thing I want to say about Module 3, and like all of our modules of service that we're going to discuss today during our webinar, is that we really, especially Module 3, it really sets us apart from other academic and educational counseling service companies in the United States, because we believe, and this is very critical to a student's success, that the student's work does not stop, or our work, I should say, our company's work does not stop with the students getting accepted into a college in the United States or a graduate program. And that really, it's very important to provide the kinds of support that we do through Module 3 to the students throughout their educational process in the United States, because this will help to ensure that not only does our student get into the best colleges and universities and graduate programs in the United States, but that they're successful at these colleges on both an academic and personal and safety, all sorts of, levels. And working with, if we work with foreign governments in this area, this helps to ensure that the foreign government's investment in each of its students is being appropriately maintained. Because obviously we want all of our students, including those sponsored by foreign governments, to really have success as students in the United States. And through maintaining a database that is accessible to both our students and the foreign governments and corporations that sponsor them, everyone can access information about the student's record and be able to monitor the student's success at every step of their education in the United States. So having said that, I want to move on as my colleague and partner Heather Butts explained to Module 4, which is cultural immersion. And this ties in to all of the services we've discussed so far. And it's very important that our students really have an understanding of what American culture is all about, because today we're a global society, but at the same time we have different cultures and ways of life in our individual homes and countries. So in order to ensure that we're comfortable living in the United States, we really would like to offer our students an education in what American culture is really all about. And we do that through organizing and leading cultural activities to museums, arts, galleries, and shows, theater, music, sports events, dining, experiencing, and entertainment as is appropriate for our students at their age levels. We arrange travel and guided tours of American cities and when necessary, academic institutions, which we'll talk about in our upcoming service modules. And we provide information and access to all other resources we feel might be important to our students to really understand American culture and life, particularly as students living in the United States. So that is our Module 4, Cultural Immersion. And moving to Module 5, which is our exchange programs for fine artists and athletes. And what we do is we understand, and this is critical to our service, to our services to students, is that we want to tailor our program to their individual areas of study. So if we have a student interested in medicine, we will, of course, tailor that student's academic experience to how that student can become successful on an undergraduate level so that they can enter the most prestigious and best medical programs in the United States. And the same goes with our fine artists and athletes, because these students require a different level of support and training, and so we help to arrange exchange programs for foreign student athletes and artists by identifying, contacting, and creating relationships with schools and athletic and arts-oriented centers and programs that can train gifted artists and athletes from abroad. And we conduct extensive research on colleges and universities in the United States that offer athletic and art scholarships to students who excel in these areas. And thereby, we save not only the students, but if it's a sponsoring government supporting the students, we save everyone a significant amount of money on tuition, and also provide students with the best education, as well as arts and athletic training in the United States. So it's really a win-win for everyone. And of course, at the same time, we do want our students to receive the best academic education in the United States. So we try to find programs that are specific to each student and offer the best services. So that is our module number 5, Exchange Programs for Fine Artists and Athletes. And I'm going to turn it over to Heather now to discuss module 6, which is Intensive Pre-College Boot Camp.
Yes, so thank you so much, Layla. So this one is extremely exciting. This is our intensive pre-college camp in the United States and or abroad. And this involves, we were talking before about preparing students before they actually get to college. This intensive pre-college boot camp is really tailored towards this goal. So what do we do in this pre-college boot camp? So what we do is we provide this project in order to give students an edge on the competition and a head start on the application process before even beginning their final year of high school. We also provide information on completing the common applications and tips on how to stand out from the competition. So, you know, for a lot of international students, I mean, it's really difficult for them to have a really good sense of how they can make themselves unique and different beyond the fact that they are international students. So we work with students on that and talk with them about that. We help them to complete up to 3 applications in addition to the common application. So, you know, while there are now almost 500 colleges as of 2013 that use the common application, there are many colleges that don't, and many colleges that international students may be looking at may not be part of the common application family. So in addition to the common application, there may be other schools that students are applying for that aren't part of that, and so we will work with you to help you with those applications, at least 3 of them. Workshops on test-taking strategies and tips to ace the entrance exam. So this is really, really, really crucial in terms of your success. We will help students create a detailed action plan, so essentially a detailed timeline, including a list of prospective schools based on students' abilities, grades, interest, goals, and budget. We will access small group college counseling sessions, so students can work in smaller groups with each other in order to work on this, guidance with writing dynamic college essays, and help with potential essay topics based on students' interests and objectives. So we talked about the college essay a little bit, but this is one of the critical areas along with the college interview for making sure that students are prepared and ready for the college application process. So we will work with the applications that the students have selected in order to make sure that they have really standout essays and standout topics. We will give essay feedback in accordance with admission standards. We'll give advice on how to stand out in a college admissions interview and opportunities to participate in mock interviews. Again, interviews and essays are crucial for students in addition to, you know, scores and grades for getting in, and so we will work with all of that. We will work on assisting students in creating a CV or resume, which you absolutely have to have during this process. We will conduct individual 90-minute face-to-face consultations with experts to address any specific concerns of students, families, and our sponsoring governments. We will give tips on using social media and other self-marketing tools to improve chance in getting into top-choice colleges. I just had a conversation with somebody about, you know, YouTube and you know, recordings and showing the best of yourself. So we'll talk about that and how you can utilize current social media and make yourself really stand out. and opportunities to visit top schools and academic programs across the country. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to college visits, but that's, again, another crucial part in terms of the process of applying to school, and that will all happen during this pre-college boot camp. Module 7 is academic assistance and counseling for special needs students, and this can take a range of forms. This can be individuals who've had issues in schools, behavioral problems, maybe who've had drug and alcohol abuse issues, mental health issues. So we offer information and access to healthcare programs for those who are struggling or underachieving in all of these areas, and we will work with you and get you referrals in these various areas, and also help to make sure that you not only have the assistance you need for getting into the schools, but then once you're actually on college campuses, that assistance continues and that there's outreach and assistance for you once you are there. We will also provide professionals and families the opportunity to choose a setting that best meets the student's unique academic and emotional needs, which includes helping and services ranging from short-term intervention programs to residential treatment, and include a variety of therapeutic interventions to foster personal growth, promote self-expression, and inspire academic excellence, and teach individual responsibility and service to others. And with respect to special needs health care, offering information and access to co-ed, residential, and summer camps for children and young adults who have special needs such as autism spectrum disorder, Asperger's, cognitive impairment, developmental disabilities, ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, other mental health issues, other physical issues. We will work with you on all of these, so you should not feel as though you're alone or as though you won't get the kind of assistance and help that you need. Weight loss camps and therapy centers for children, teenagers, and young adults, and arranging for access to health care and counseling services for students if required upon relocation. We provide access to an endless amount of other additional specialists, including but not limited to nutritionists, personal trainers, financial planners, and mental health care professionals so students can better focus on their studies and successfully transition out of school into their graduate or professional or work careers. And now I'll hand it back over to Layla for Module 8.
Thank you, Heather. I want to now discuss legal oversight and management services for students, which is another thing that sets our company apart, Fundamental Knowledge, apart from other academic and educational counseling companies and independent college counselors who work in the United States with foreign students, because we are a group of lawyers. And because of our experiences with having worked with foreign students in the United States during their studies here, we think, or we believe, and we know it's very, very important that students have an understanding of the American legal system, as we mentioned earlier. And this ties in with our services on cultural immersion, because with our education on cultural immersion, I mean, Americans are very similar to foreigners in their family, student, and work lives. However, it is important to understand and respect the differences in the American culture so that our students' interactions with Americans and other foreign students is a friendly and healthy and happy experience. And just like cultural immersion, legal immersion has the same objective. Understanding the U.S. legal system and the general laws of each state is important so that our students' daily conduct in the United States complies with these laws, and ultimately they go on to become successful students and, of course, happy graduates. So one of the things that's important to understand in conducting Module 8 legal services is that this is not, we don't want to create a system of alarm in our students. We're not policemen, but at the same time, we do want to impose what's important or impose an understanding of what's important to do and not to do in the United States. But also, equally important is that we want our students to understand their legal rights in the United States so that they're educated and they feel comfortable. They know what to ask for, what not to ask for, and what not to do or to do in different situations. So what I'd like to do is first start with how we would work with our students. And our legal team would be providing these services, and we would start by contacting the student or the student's family or the sponsoring government or corporation regarding any legal emergencies. And they could be in the area of academic hearings, arrests, immigration detention, questioning by law enforcement officials, etc. So again, you know, these kinds of situations are negative, but at the same time, it's important that the right legal team be in place and to support and to work with our students to get them through this experience so that they can continue on to become and become successful students. And so we would provide recommendations to our students as to the appropriate legal course of action to take and the consequences of these actions and these situations on the students' studies in the United States, of course. And upon, you know, written request by whether it's the foreign governments we're working with or the student's family, and one thing that's important to stress is that if state laws have been violated, then we would find local legal counsel in the student's area to represent the student in academic, criminal, immigration, and or civil matters, because each state requires its own licensed attorneys working with these students. But we would be working with these local legal counsel to make sure that their course of action is not only viable but cost effective. So we really work closely with local counsel to come up with a legal strategy that is appropriate for each situation. And then by working with local counsel closely, we monitor their legal strategy and progress in each matter along each step of the way. And of course, we act as liaison between the local counsel and the student or the student's family and sponsoring government or sponsoring corporation to make sure that everyone is informed along the way. And then we provide written reports at the very end as to how this case was conducted. And then moving on, of course, we will help to, or we will conduct the review of local counsel's retainer agreements and invoices and provide our own written evaluation so that students understand what kinds of fees are involved, because it will be the responsibility of the student or the student's family, the sponsoring government or the sponsoring corporation to handle or to pay for these fees. And so we want everyone to feel comfortable knowing what they're paying for. And we will ensure that all of the retainer agreements are in place between the student and local counsel, that there's compliance with United States privacy laws to ensure privacy and confidentiality where appropriate, and that really students receive the information that they need to know in their cases. And in addition to that, I mean, our legal services are not limited to helping students when they're in an emergency or in legal trouble. Our services are broad and cover commercial contracts. So that would be between the student, the sponsoring government, or the sponsoring corporation with third-party vendors, whether it's landlords or commercial contracts for services that students would need in the United States. And again, our services start with the workshops that we would conduct on the U.S. legal system. And then because our services include really providing support to our students while they're studying in the United States, we would then be in a position to provide these legal services to our students while they're here. And to ensure, again, ultimately our objective is to ensure that they're successful students at every step. And so when an emergency comes up, we are right there to support them and ensure that they come out of this emergency and continue on with their studies. So that's our Module 8, which is Legal Oversight and Management Services for our students. And Module 9, I'd like to talk about is alumni relations. Now, we are a very global society, and business is conducted on so many different levels, and almost instantaneously. So what's important to us is to really provide or help our students to have a professional, academic, and social network system to provide support for our students while they're students in the United States, and also when they become working professionals, whether in the United States or back in their home countries. So our services include helping facilitate on-campus organizations and access to other students at other schools, whether it's students who are studying in a particular area, and we would help to create a network of those students so students meet each other and can work together and discuss this area of study, or it would be trying to create a network of students from that student's particular home country. And we would also help graduating students returning to their home countries maintain a network with other graduates in their respective programs, because as working professionals know, it's important to have a certain professional network in place, whether you will be relying for business development purposes or for referral of work to your professional network. You know, there's a lot of reasons to have a professional network in place, beginning while you're a student in the United States. And of course, we will share this information. I mean, we want also our students to share their experiences with other students in their home countries. So if a student comes here and decides to study, whether it's in a big city or a local, a smaller town in the United States, we want them to express to other students in their home countries, yeah, I had a really good experience studying in this school or in this city or town. And through that exchange of information, we feel that our students will ultimately help to benefit other students in their home countries that are interested in following in the same, academic path. So that's really important. There's an outreach element to our services here. And again, we really want to support the alumni networks in the United States and abroad, as I mentioned, for professional networking purposes for foreign students and also for our foreign government clients, so that there is an element of, to support foreign investment opportunities in different countries across the world. And so by creating these alumni relationships or student relationships in the United States, we really help to focus these services to the students' professional, academic, and social needs. So that is what we would do with Module 9, Alumni Services. And Module 10, moving on to English language instruction. This is also very important because our students need, of course, the course of study would be in English. So our students really need a very good working knowledge and comfort level in English. And so we would start by evaluating our students and working, of course, students can come to us at any point during the process, whether it's starting with, the college applications or the need for tutoring while they're students here. And so we would help to evaluate the students' proficiency in English, so we understand the kinds of services that they would need. And then we would identify school placements. We would help identify English language centers or academic tutoring programs that will help students increase their knowledge of the English language and comfort working with English. And we would monitor our students' progress. We would work very closely with our students to ensure their progress so that they are ready to tackle academic life in the United States, whether it's as an undergraduate or a graduate. And we understand that English obviously our students will need to continue their proficiency in English, and so we will work with students with low grades or test scores who have limited placement options at the United States so that we can increase their opportunities in the United States to study at different schools of their interest. And so it's very important that we provide support to our students in this area because English is the primary language of instruction at our schools. So we will help our students to feel comfortable in their studies in English. So moving on to Module 11, which is U.S. Legal Writing and Research Training for Foreign Students. And again, this is very important for foreign students who foreign attorneys who are working in the United States. And this is also important for foreign attorneys with U.S. clients in their home countries. And we have an extensive array of services in Module 11 because it's not about feeling comfortable conducting legal services in English. It's really an extensive training on multiple areas, and these areas include understanding the U.S. legal system and the structure of federal and state courts. We would provide training on analysis of legal problems and issues, how to synthesize laws of multiple cases, how to read a case and prepare a case brief, how to even navigate a law library, whether it's a school law library or a bar association library, and how to conduct legal research using print and online resources. And because we're a common law system and we have many foreign students, foreign attorneys coming from the civil law system, we will help to educate our students on the differences between what is mandatory binding law and what is persuasive law, and how to apply each of those to analyze a legal issue. And of course, we will help to our students to synthesize the law from multiple cases. We will help our students become better negotiators during transactions and dispute resolution. We will help our students conduct contract drafting, improve their oral advocacy skills, and we will also assist foreign attorneys in how to write, whether it's a legal memorandum, a brief, a client letter, a demand letter, all the while, really getting a better handle on or understanding of English grammar and writing while doing these exercises. And, of course, how to write a contract and conduct negotiations, as I mentioned. And one area that's very big in the United States is alternative dispute resolution. So working with our legal team, of course, we would help to provide training on mediation and arbitration techniques that are part of alternative dispute resolution. So our students may not necessarily be in school while they're here, but certainly Module 11 is also tailored to provide supplemental support to LLM students, foreign LLM students who are here doing their master's in law. And as I mentioned, foreign attorneys working in the United States and foreign attorneys working in their home countries who have U.S. clients. So that's Module 11. And now I'll turn it back over to Heather to discuss Module 12.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're up to Module 12. Three modules left. So Module 12 involves professional interview training and image consulting. And this is actually a super important module because it has to deal with some of what Layla was talking about before in terms of social graces and social interaction, particularly as it relates to being in the United States. So in this module, we will go over social graces, social interaction, business etiquette, professional conduct, interviewing skills, not only at the college interview level, but at the professional interviewing level. Dining etiquette specific to the United States, dressing for the occasion, communication etiquette, social preparation for college, health, hygiene, and nutrition, planning, organizing, and basic financial literacy with some really fantastic interactive games, self-image as well as self-awareness, and protocol with respect to different cultures. And again, this goes back to Module 4 and some of what we were talking about there, and we'll essentially round that out. Next, we have Module 13, which is school and housing tours, and this is very flexible, so we can arrange this if a student is already here in the United States, if they want to come to the United States to do a series of tours, a series of housing, so we can arrange travel and guided tours for academic institutions throughout the entire United States. We will provide information and access to housing options and other resources as required. And we can give students the full panoply of options that are available in terms of guided tours and school tours. And finally, last but not least, is Module 14, online training and educational platform design. So working with our affiliate, L.E.A.R.N for Life Consulting, LLC, we will provide students, foreign governments, and corporate sponsors of health students with schools and the latest technologies and trainings to access greater educational opportunities and connect on a global level. We work with government, schools, and companies to enhance their online presence, and we will strategize with online training and education services. So when we discussed before the various webinars that we will hold, the various trainings, that will be done through the L.E.A.R.N module. L.E.A.R.N has been a project manager on projects involving the development of customized platforms and educational purposes and has provided several services including webinar planning, boot camps, e-books on webinar tips, specialized webinars such as what we just discussed for online training and education, an online education platform. And for individuals who are not able to make it to the United States for some of the boot camps we described and other pre-college programming, we will be able to provide an online platform so that we can have the same discussion, education, and dialogue with them, even though they are not physically here in the United States. So we will provide that for students on an as-need basis. And I'm going to now turn it back over to Layla Zuby for any final words or thoughts for this webinar.
Thank you so much, Heather. I hope that all of you listening to our webinar have a better understanding of the kinds of services that we provide. And as you will see or have heard, we really do offer the most extensive and comprehensive array of services in the area of academic education and legal counseling services to foreign students interested in studying in the United States. And we've gone through 14 different modules, what we call modules of service, in different areas in a little more detail to help you understand what we do in each area. But as we started by saying, we do have different clients. And so the most important thing that we'd like to also impress upon our listeners is that each of our services will be tailored to the needs of the students. And whether it's the student who is our client or the foreign government or foreign corporation that's sponsoring students in the United States, we work directly with our clients very closely to ensure that we provide the services that they need, because not all of our services will be necessary for a particular student, and other kinds of services may be necessary. So it's very important to know that while we can provide all 14, we really work with our students and our clients to help identify exactly what our students need. And then we continue to provide those services for as long as the students and the clients need us, because it's important to ensure that that support is in place while the students are here in the United States. And so what I'd like to do now is just give you the listeners our contact information. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach us at any time. Heather and I are both available to answer any of your questions. And our email is info@fundamental-knowledge.com. So again, that's info@fundamental-knowledge.com. So please feel free to email us at any time, and our website is fundamental-knowledge.com, and all of our services are posted on our website, contact information, and all other information that you might need to learn more about us. So thank you so very much for giving us your time today, and I will turn it over to my colleague and partner, Heather, for her final thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with everything that Layla has told you. The contact information, please utilize it. This recording will be up on YouTube, and so you can look at it there and learn more about us. And please go to our website, www.fundamental-knowledge.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and LinkedIn and all those other good social media places, and you can find all of that at our website. So please do check the website out and be in contact with us, and we would love to be of service with you and help you in any way possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.